Great Nigerians and wonderful viewers, welcome again to your darling station, Living Radio 90.9 and Living Television. We are at it again today. We are on your usual and favorite program, Nigeria Today. Today, just like we discussed last week, we talked about a cabinet member of the Kenyan government who resigned and was able to tell the public how they failed in that their government, the kind of bribes they took and so on, and who also promised to return them and apologized to Kenyans. Today in Nigeria, we are saying, can such a thing happen? Today we are going to look at our National Assembly, the way forward, and also if we have time, we will also look at the approved minimum wage of 70,000 naira finally, and then also compare it with what happens in the National Assembly. That's what we're looking at today. As usual in the house with me, I have Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi. Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi is a historian, and not just a historian, he's a public affairs analyst and political affairs analyst. He's also a televangelist. He's a man who loves dealing with dates and numbers. He is going to do justice in terms of analysis of these issues we're talking about today. Comrade, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me and for welcoming me. Good day, our listener.
All right, today we are still on Nigeria and the way forward, part 2 of it. Remember last week, like I said earlier, we talked about the Kenyan government and how one openly came out to say he is sorry for being part of the looting government. Can it ever happen here? Today, first and foremost, before we move on, we are going to take a confession from a member of the House who openly told us how much they make in a month. Some people could quote 30 billion and whatever million, but the man was so sincere to himself. Let's hear the voice.
I, a member of this House, collect basic salary of 2.5 per month, furniture allowance 7.5 million per month, newspaper allowance 1.2 million per month, wardrobe allowance 621,000 per month, recess allowance 248,000 per month, accommodation allowance 4.9 million per month, utility allowance 828,000 per month, personal assistant allowance 621,000 per month.
All right, we've had a salary 2.5 million in a year. That is about 30 million naira in a year, and that of furniture allowance 7.5 million in a year is about 19 million naira. You can join us in doing this calculation together. And then newspaper allowance 1.2 million in a year is about 14,400,000 naira. And then wardrobe allowance you have 621,000 in a year is about 7,452,000 naira. Recess allowance 248,000 naira in a year is about 2,936,000 naira. And then accommodation allowance 4.9 million naira, which is about 58.800 million naira in a year. Utility allowance is 828,000, which comes out to be 9,936,000 naira. And the PA allowance is at 621,000, which amounts to 7,452,000. Putting it together annually, what average National Assembly takes home is 221,016,000 naira. And yet we are talking about battling with 70,000 naira minimum wage. Comrade, you had it all.
Yes, and if that is to be true, what we just heard now, it simply means that we have a system which has been sustained that works in the interest of the political elite or the governing class. Somewhere I did make an intervention where I was talking about a statement credited to the former chief of army staff, Brutai, who said people who do not find it comfortable staying in one Nigeria should actually be moved to the Atlantic Ocean. Yes, I said, well, the man was talking, although he was talking in a social gathering environment, but then he was also talking as an establishment person. You see, there is this saying by a few of my friends. They say, Nigeria is like a manaka. You know, when it comes to your turn, Nigeria starts becoming enjoyable and pleasing to you. But when you are outside the corridors of power and the appurtenances thereof, you become an activist. Let me shock you. You see, some time ago, a former senator made a startling revelation of what the National Assembly member, in fact, the senators were earning. He said 13.5 million naira monthly, inclusive of the basic salary and other things. Now, the National Assembly was also making a case at a point that they have not been receiving a review salary upward since 13 years or something like that. And then that does not take away the fact that there are appurtenances, there are benefits in quotes that they receive by being members of the National Assembly. And that does not also go to say that the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission, which is a body that decides the salaries of these people, you understand, have not been existing. But let me come to the issue at hand. You were talking about Kenya, and I did say here during the last appearance that what happened in Kenya, the condition under which that man talked, you understand, the former government official spoke, is quite different from the condition in Nigeria today. If peradventure we are to have a similar event, you see politicians also talking like this same man. You understand? Now, you see, in Nigeria we have a bad system. The National Assembly we are talking about is the same body that will sit and vet the budget, and they will invite ministers and ministries to come and defend their own budgets. Now listen very well, and to also make public in most cases what they earn. But the National Assembly does not make its own earnings public. The National Assembly is also not supervised by anybody in terms of oversight to say, come and defend the budget. Their budget, as we speak today, since 2017 or so, they've not made it open. They've never made it open. Except when Saraki was there, was the last time the budget was made open. Even at that, it was still questionable. There were loopholes, there were holes, there were a lot of apparent manipulations. People became concerned. Now, it has to do with our laws. Why these persons will sit like this and fat idly. And in most cases, the law is that any lawmaker should appear or should have a presentation. I think about 100 and something days. It's not even up to 200 days. You see that most times they're even on recess. Sometimes 1 month recess, 2 months recess, 3 weeks recess. That's how it is. And yet they keep earning. Even when they were on recess. For example, there was a time I calculated it. They were on a 2 month recess, and the issue of minimum wage was being discussed. And I was telling people that the National Assembly has not been sitting, has not been convening, has not been meeting, but they are receiving what they are entitled to. And let me come to what I was trying to say before I started making this projection. We have a system that guarantees this. Because the National Assembly, during Constitutional Amendment, I think either 2010 Constitutional Amendment or so, made their hearing, their budget to come under statutory transfer. That's what we call first line charge. It simply means monies embedded in the budget or given to an agency of government outside the control and sphere of the executive. It simply means that the federal government has no control whatsoever. The amounts the National Assembly members are to receive, it is statutory transfer. It is to be done as is law. It is seen as law. And in most cases, you see figures are controversial. Just like you have, what would somebody be doing with 850,000 naira for newspaper and for in a month? Prof, I don't want to talk about other appurtenances like housing allowance of 4.something million and wardrobe allowance and all the things you itemize. I just want to talk about this.
Even furniture.
Furniture allowance, I don't want to talk about that. The other one too. If it is true that it is paid monthly, my thinking is that it is paid 1 year, and that's after the whole parliament. But then it is happening. We are hearing it monthly. Why would someone have need, even if it is the Queen of England or the son who has actually succeeded her? Why would someone have need to evacuate furniture in their building or in their home in just 1 month? It's waste, surplus waste. And I was trying to see, when we talk about statutory transfer, it simply means this money that in fact they are seen as outcome of the law. You don't question, you don't do anything. Agencies like INEC, other participants like INEC, even North East Development Commission, Niger Delta National Assembly, they form National Assembly together with other agencies, form what is known as the big guns, 4 of them. And this is where the cash is. This year's budget, 2024 budget allocated 197 billion naira to the National Assembly. An amount of money a source said was bigger than amount given to 25 federal universities. How do we explain that? How much do we give to healthcare? You begin to see that National Assembly alone takes more than healthcare, takes more than education, takes more than even agriculture, takes more than everything. And that is why you remember the speech made by the current Senate president. Do you know what he said at some point? Akpabio said, we don't have a problem. Our old boys are running the executive. Put him. And what does that mean? President Bola Ahmed Tinubu used to be a senator. The wife, Oludemi, used to be a senator. Chief of staff to the president, Bajadi Amina, was former speaker, also a federal lawmaker. George Api, the secretary of the government, is also a former senator. Vice President Shetima, also a former senator. You understand what is happening now? That the executive and the legislature are being controlled by the same persons who have graduated from here to here and then from here to here. It's just the same thing. They are like just alumni of sorts. And that is why in fact, the first money bill to come to the 10th assembly, do you know what it was about? Supplementary budget. This is exactly 1 year. Last July of 2023. There, the National Assembly got 70 billion naira. Do you know what that money was called? To allow them to settle in. It was believed that they had just been sworn in. They need to also settle in. And someone told me it's just money to do what? To tear down before election, finance, and campaign expenses. All right, it's unfortunate we are having this kind of system. But very unfortunate. And all attempts made to make, even when we are signatory to open budget partnership, open government partnership, the National Assembly does not make public its spending. We can't even say, we can't even establish how much they earn. So that was why when the lawmakers, the lower house there, the Green Chamber said they were giving 6 months of their salaries. Now imagine 360 persons, rather 360 persons were to give 50% of their salary for 6 months to a cause we believe, you understand? They say the hardship they are trying to give to Nigerians, they are trying to give back. It amounted to about 620 million naira. It simply tells you that the salary is not even where the whole thing is. But the items you just read out, and thank you for reading out those items, whether or not they are correct. But now listen, they said then what did the article say? Article said, we are not interested in your salaries. We know other benefits, we know other attachments, we know other monetary and other pecuniary benefits you enjoy by virtue of being there. Right. We must sit for 200 days and then you get away such pension of money at the expense of a nation whose economy is in a balanced state, at the expense of a nation that is already on its knees, at the expense of a nation whose economy is bleeding with inflation, soaring, food crisis not letting up, and we have people who will sit comfortably somewhere, and then even in most cases they even enjoy to proceed abroad. You understand? For a lot of things, I can't even listen.
Well, I wouldn't want us to go ahead talking about if this is true, because these are the member of the house read these at the front of the house.
I remember that, yes. That you said member of the house. And you're not talking about the Senate yet.
Yes, we are not
which earns more.
Yes, that earns more. Now, when you look at it, the way they itemize salaries and so on. Because when you talk about salary, they'll just tell you what their salary. Nobody takes time to look into these other.
We're not talking about basic salary. We're talking about
other. Now, amongst all this, we've not talked about the constituency allowance. It's not here. The SUV of 160 million is not also is not here. So at the end of the month, at the end of the year, don't you see they will go home with about, in 4 years, about 884 million. And don't you think they make more than $1 billion?
Yes, yeah, they should be able to make more than that because in government we have a lot of welfare packages. Remember that a lawmaker, and people say a lawmaker
the Senate president paid into their various accounts.
Yes,
for them to
go a lawmaker, I was coming to that too. A lawmaker was said to be celebrating an 18-year-old child with a jeep worth over 50 million naira. They just graduated, was celebrating the jeep worth over 50 million. So that is the kind of leaders we have, or these are the kind of persons in charge of affairs. They are not even sensitive to what is happening to us today. And they are still telling Nigerians not to hit the streets protesting. But unfortunately, they are the source of hunger. They are the source of food inflation we are seeing today. And let me tell you this, you see, you talked about the prayers, that the money that was actually converted to prayers. The Senate President said a token had been sent to your first account without knowing that he was still in the mic. And that the mic has picked what he was saying. Until one lawmaker from this part of the Federation approached him and said, Your Excellency, you are still on the mic. And he had to say the money had been converted to prayers. And that's the kind of a man who is there as the Senate President. Now remember also that someone, a member had come out to say the illegality is happening in the National Assembly. He cannot be part of it. He said 2 budgets were passed. One of 27.5 trillion naira and 25 trillion naira. That the president seems to be working with the one of 27.5 trillion naira. Now, in that budget alone, statutory transfer where the money to the National Assembly is got about 1.9 trillion or so, 1.89 trillion naira or thereabouts, over 1 trillion naira. Now, you begin to ask yourself, apart from National Assembly and other agencies, why would we be making such recurrent expenditure? You understand? It's not to talk about other things. You see that when you include what they now call constituency project, which is no longer in terms of money, but they now attract the development, commissions like the Nigeria Development Commission and other bodies to come build infrastructure or even provide them. In most cases, they even what they do in terms of what they call empowerment is to give people who have no experience whatsoever of animal husbandry or animal rearing. They will give them a day-old chick or day-old chicks. They will just give them chicks of a day old, and then they will say, "Oh, yeah, go and rear." They will also give them things like equipment for hairdressing and the rest of them. In most cases, it ought to be training. It ought to be more than that. It ought to go to education, and that explains why our educational system has been run aground. Their children are not there because they have what it takes to send them abroad. The other day, someone like Ahmed Dati, who built in Bayes University, where other politicians go to acquire one degree or the other, was celebrating the daughter who graduated abroad or who got admitted abroad. You understand? So it tells you, it paints a picture that this political class, that they are working in camps, and we are not in their interest.
No, you're talking about their ability to afford money of their children overseas. Do you think it's just all about the money, or because they've bastardized academic system here, and that is why they can afford to send them overseas? Because if you have the best here, there will be no need sending your children abroad.
A conference of both.
Okay.
Yes, they've run down the institutions here because we have the House in charge of Education Committee. What do they do? Do they urge the government to increase the allocation to the education sector? Do they urge the federal government to do more in terms of investing more in education, critical sector of the economy? Now, we used to have in this country, people were talking about cholera, I was laughing. In 1971 to 1972, Professor Augustine Njoku founded the vaccine for cholera. WHO tested it and said it is okay. After laboratory tests and then approval was given, said it's okay. In 1940s, Britain built vaccine laboratory in Yaba, Lagos. I'm telling you what happened in this country. Yaba, Lagos, vaccine laboratory. They produced what they call either coronavirus or something. There was one they produced. Then for smallpox, you remember when smallpox happened in Nigeria, even Yoruba, this laboratory produced vaccines to contain or to even combat or to even address that problem. By 1990, when Babangida was in charge, Babangida said, let us run down the institution, we built another one. Today, we don't have anything of so. We depend on abroad. We depend, in fact, India has overwhelmed us, overtaken our pharmaceutical landscape. Talk of India, talk of China, talk of other countries. So that is how it goes. A university like Nsukka or Ibadan, ask them how much do they get as endowment. People like Dangote, and I'm mentioning them, so all these well people, how much do they contribute to our research? But if you go to abroad, you hear Kennedy Institute. Who is Kennedy? Who is Kennedy? People have paid their price. People have paid the price, invested in the education. Now these politicians, they have found it since they have the means to send their children abroad. In fact, there was a case of a former governor of this state. A certain high institution in Arochukwu was complaining of shortage of funds to staff members and planning to embark on strike. The story has it that the governor was with his commissioners. He asked two of them, does any of your child or ward attend that school? One says no. You know. He said, even mine too. None of my children is there. So you can actually lock up the university or the institution and bring the keys to me. A governor said that. So it's unfortunate that the governing class are indifferent.
All right.
They are not hearing to the aspirations of Nigeria.
Now, about 2 days ago, the senator representing Abia North Senatorial District,
yes,
in the person of former governor of Abia State, Joseph Carlo, said that the House of Assembly should not be meant, the National Assembly should not be meant to be everyday affair, but they should be on part-time. And that is the only way they can come down on the cost of governance. That was a wonderful suggestion. What's your take on that?
Yes, it's not that debate didn't start today. It's been there. Yes, he tried to reinforce it to become part of the mainstream conversation. Whether or not this assembly should be a part-time affair or job has been difficult. I want to say this, you see, it's not them being already they are part-time. Already they are. You can't tell me that you except the president and then the governors, you can hardly find a politician who you can say work every day. That is us, except those who are working with the president. If your principal is in the office, you must be there. I don't know who works round the clock. This is me talking. I don't know. National Assembly members, they are part-time because their schedule allows them to go 1 month on vacation and still receive salary. 1 month plus on vacation or recess and still receive. So let's talk the field ourselves. They are not supposed to. They don't work 52 weeks a day. Just go and check. I've forgotten the numbers, but I'm not sure. It's not enough to more than 50 days. Out of 365 days in a year or 364 days in a year, they are not mandated to appear at least 150. I said 150 is even much. It's about 121 days or so that they are scheduled to appear. So how can you tell me they are already doing part-time and we are paying them overtime? That's the thing. They are doing part-time and we are paying them overtime. You understand? Now, ask yourself, some of them will stay there and will not see. There is no law saying a member must sponsor a bill or move a motion. That is why you have some of them who go there to sleep.
That's true.
Unlike the presidency or the governor. Let's understand this. Let's understand this. Sometimes they go there, they don't do anything. Some of them don't even have PAs. The money for PAs, they pocket it. The money for PAs, they pocket. They just go there, laugh, shake hands, and then come back. They will only second the motion. They can never move a motion, or they will close eyes or neck to make a bill sell to. They won't sponsor. In fact, there is a lawmaker who happened to be from this state. I've been asking people, do you know any bill you can say he sponsored? And nobody has been able to tell me this is it. Although the bills you see are things that are not even directly impacting the constituents or the constituency. That's what we talk about when we say bill. How will you leverage your position in the National Assembly to make the federal government become aware of erosion in your part of the country, of educational gaps in your part of the country, of other challenges in your part of the country to even address them, Unfortunately, we don't have such lawmakers. So the question of they are only doing part-time. Tell them that no, say they are part-time workers.
All right, looking at it, you see, let us also draw it closer to the approved minimum wage of 70,000. If you go by the pronouncement of this member of the House, who has told us that even wardrobe allowance alone is about 7.452 million naira in a year. And then going by it and talk about newspaper allowance, which is 1.2 a month, and then this state, the federal government, cannot afford to pay up to 100,000 naira minimum wage with the reference to the high level of inflation in the country. Where are they pushing the masses to?
Yes, they are pushing the masses to the wall. There's what is known as frustration aggression theory. There's a limit to which you can push someone and they begin to react. The protests happening in Kenya and the one that we're talking about here, they are a fallout of what? Hunger. People are hungry, and those in charge of the affairs of the country are not even sensitive to that matter. That people are hungry. A simple thing, people are hungry. Your policies have bettered poverty, and those who should talk are not even talking. You came as a president. I've never seen it done anywhere in the world. The first thing you did was to inflict pain, to cause a ripple in the economy. I've never seen it happen that the president has yet to sit down. He was just being sworn in. The first comment, the first thing he said was that something was gone. Then in the next 2-3 months, he now floated the naira. Now look at Kenya today. Understand something. I want to draw a parallel. Look at Kenya today. Kenya is protesting, or Kenyans are protesting, because of the IMF regulatory interventions. And what are these interventions? Kenya is owing IMF about close to 80 billion or so. And they went to IMF to say we are not able to pay or amortize our debts. IMF said, okay, we are going to restructure, but on one condition. And what is restructuring? Let's talk about this. Restructuring debt is all these debts you see they incur. They don't pay it because the debts outlive their tenure. Even if they are to serve 2 terms, there is hardly a debt you see that is for 10 years. And that is the wickedness of some of these Western institutions, the lending agencies so-called. They set this debt trap, you fall in. You are perpetually indebted to them, and they begin to detest, even to a large extent, your politics. I will express what to do, you see. The Kenya government went telling IMF we are not able to pay. They now say we are going to restructure. Restructuring means they will increase the yields, the window, the grace, so-called grace. Okay, you are not able. Now we increase interest, revenue, interest, but principal remains the same. If you borrow $5 billion, you are servicing the debt every month or every year. It depends on how it's agreed upon. You are servicing with a particular interest. You will pay that interest, and then if you are unable to pay to clear the debt, you will do what? You will go for a restructure, and they will give you grace and extend window. You keep remaining their what we call here boy. In Africa, for example, West Africa precisely, 16 countries, about 14 of them are heavily indebted. The category the IMF calls HIPCs, heavily indebted poor countries. Togo, Ghana, Gambia, all of them are there except Nigeria. And Nigeria is heading to the precipice. And that's what we are saying. The past administration, we saw how it corrupted, bloated the ways and means advances of the CBN. Now sought to get and got through a nefarious system perpetrated or made possible by the then Ninth Assembly to convert the ways and means advances, which the finance law, which the law is that you pay back in the same following year, and you resort to CBN as a lender of last resort for emergency and other short-term expenses you want to do. Now they abuse that process to become 20-year bond. Today, what Buhari borrowed is no longer now. It's now 20-year bond. The federal government is issuing bonds for 20 years. Buhari is going to live up to the next 20 years. We pray he does that. You see what we see the picture. You see the picture I'm trying to paint here now. So most of these debts are what? They are hard loans. Hard loans simply means the ones that have stringent conditions of repayment. In most cases, you are not even able to pay. They begin to dictate to you what to do, including telling you where to go and execute war in Africa. And that's what is happening here.
All right, looking at it, we are still looking at the monthly and also yearly payment to the members of the National Assembly precisely the Federal House for now, who openly spoke out. And then talking about these people, like what happened in Kenya, how can a person look at this brother, what's his name, that was demoted from being chief whip of the house?
Yes.
What's his name? And was now demoted because he said Nigerians are hungry. And then this other one, now nobody has heard more about him because for revealing this, do you think they are happy with him?
No, they're not happy with him. Remember, I didn't mention him now before earlier. I said he said the National Assembly prepared and passed 2 budgets. That the president is working with one that is in excess of the other provisions by over 2 trillion naira. That the one they passed as National Assembly was 25 trillion naira. What the president is working with is 27.5 trillion naira. You ask yourself the question: the differential, where is it going to go? Who will take it if it is true? Alain Dube was suspended for this. He came back and still talked at the spoke at the floor of the said the president has been shielded away from reality, away from the happenings in the system. That the president is not even aware of most things. That people are trying to shame him and the now speaking of his position. To tell the National Assembly has become, I do not know. Anyway, someone made an intervention and said the National Assembly has become a parastatal of the federal government, and it's an appalling statement. I wish we never lived to hear that, but it is what it has to be. Same the Ninth Assembly, where you have the senior president tell you that anything President Muhammadu Buhari then as it were proposed to the National Assembly then was in the interest of the nation, and that they will locate such bills. Was there anything they revoked? They could really revoke any bill, and that is why the National Assembly will sit and enjoy appointments from the executive. Why would the first money bill President Bola Ahmed Tinubu introduced by July of last year, after coming to office by May, in the name of appropriation, be giving the National Assembly 70 billion naira? For what? Now, you're talking about the 160 million naira each person got to buy a vehicle. After they bought the vehicle and they now saw that the vehicles were much, they decided to expand their car park with 5 billion naira for the lower house and 5 billion for the upper chamber. No, I'm being clear. They decided to expand. When they are expanding, is the economy expanding? Is inflation contracting? Is food prices contracting? Is unemployment contracting? Are people becoming free? Are we enjoying the dividends of democracy? It should be a shameful thing, and I wish Tinubu well. We have no business in wishing him evil or wishing him failure. I wish him luck. It will be a huge disaster if Tinubu should fail. As I see, he has gotten off to a bad start. I keep saying it. He can only do what? Retrace his steps and become probable. Governance is one thing. Imagine in the time when Goodluck was president and Garba was president, Nigerians had bags of rice to spare. It was 7,005. I used to buy them.
Yes.
I used to buy. It was even as an NYC person, I was buying back. I'm saying a bag of rice. People have money to spend. People have money to buy bags of rice. Today, we are not nobody talking about buying a bag of rice. They are not talking about mood and debate. Yes, the federal government could not even meet these lower expectations. That's failure. Because it simply means the yardstick of judging performance, of judging assessment of government in terms of providing food and security had been lowered from a bag of rice to now a plate of garri and the mood of beans. People no longer see. We are not talking about paint. We are not talking about the bag of rice now. Imagine that.
Not even half or quarter.
People are no longer talking about building houses now. They are not talking about paying house rent.
How to feed?
People are not talking about building houses. They are not talking about paying house rent. They are not talking about how to feed. And 18 million Nigerians are facing food insecurity. I want to add that over 100 million of us, including some of us here today, are facing nutrition insecurity.
But that is true.
Take the fact. Your children go to school every morning. You give them Indomie. In the morning they eat bread and tea. They go to school, Indomie. They come back. They will eat garri. In the night they will eat rice. What class of food are they eating? Carbohydrates or two. You don't really have to talk about desserts, afters, or even we lack those supplements. There is no category of food that people eat here. I can tell you, we give you iron, we give you phosphorus, we give you all those elements in your body. All those things are becoming. A bottle of beer is no longer affordable now. You understand? By consumers, it's now up to 1,000 naira. A country where the highest denomination of your currency cannot buy a loaf of bread needs to be re-examined.
All right, with what is happening in Nigeria today and compared with the approval of Mr. President, the 70,000 naira minimum wage, do you think that this is as a result of lack of knowledge of leadership, or do you think that this thing is purposely done to suffer the masses? Remember, we discussed it here, one of the then governors who said that the Nigerian people have been so impoverished, so they cannot revolt.
Even the current deputy speaker said something related to that, and I said it is quite startling that he could say that. He said Nigeria is too big for people to protest. It's not like Kenya.
Yes.
But it's not. It tells you how insensitive these people are. Let me tell you this. You see, what is happening in Nigeria, whether you are paying 70,000 naira or more, it shouldn't even be the question. If we are a true federation, the minimum wage should not be a national thing. I want to be very clear now. The minimum, Tinubu promised to pay minimum wage as early as the January of this year. He promised to pay living wage. Today he's negotiating 70,000, which not even all private sectors can actually pay. It's like private sectors that are actually really start under the law to so do, who have up to 25 staff members. Remember, that's the law. Now, bring it back to the issue. 70,000 naira, like we said, cannot buy a bag of rice.
Cannot.
70,000 naira cannot keep a bachelor. This is not even enough to sustain a bachelor. Someone living alone, not to talk of family. And I was asking the labor unions, before now you said you use a benchmark of something of a family of 6 to build all those things you're telling us. 650,000 naira, 400,000 naira, that will not go down. I know that something upwards of 250,000 naira, 3,000 naira may not be realizable. But I was asking, what benchmark did they use to accept 70,000 naira for months?
That's it.
That's what I was asking. Now bring it back to what I've been saying. You see, we are not sincere. The problem we have is that we want to benchmark everything at 70,000 naira. There are even institutions that can pay more than 70,000 naira. Do you expect someone, a cleaner in CBN, to earn 70,000 naira?
I know.
Do you expect a cleaner at National Assembly to earn 70,000 naira? There are parasites and agencies that should be able to pay more than that. Even NNPC, we know them. So minimum wage does not mean it must be a certain point for every state. Some states can pay more than that. Lagos State is economically viable. River State is economically viable. See this. Some of them, even if Edo State, as they claim, though are not proven, that they could pay something like that minimum wage. It simply means that some states can pay. I understand that some states are not in a position to pay. They cannot pay that. And that is why you have to be careful when you are creating a state. I was discussing with somebody the issue of Aba State. I said, Aba is economically viable. But the only thing is that in terms of seeking to create a state, it may have to be a state as the Southeast are trying to move. It should be a state that increases their geographical sphere. Because in Nigeria, population, landmass, density, all these things are used to share revenue. And when you don't have them, I said some places in Nigeria cannot even stand viable. Economically, they are not economically viable, but they are states. Every other day, they wait for the federal government allocation to arrive. That's what people have named feeding bottle system. And that is why, when it comes to VAT and VAT accounts, you see that even states who condemn certain consumptions will stretch out their hands to receive appetances thereof. It reminds me of what an author, Kwai Ane of Ghana, the author of The Beautiful Ones Are Not Your Body, he called it Chichidodo, a bird that detests fecal matter but likes eating maggots growing therefrom. You see, you don't say one thing about it. So in this part of the world, the 70,000 naira prof, it should be a benchmark. But even it means that salary entry level for any job you are going to should not be less than. So some states in America, they have their benchmark. Some states exceed because of what? Economic prosperity. Yeah. So those who cannot afford fall back to that. We shouldn't be talking about this. It simply means the basics. And if it is that where we are, to me, it is poor.
But this is Nigeria now.
It is poor. It is poor. It is poor. So they should be careful that what is informing the protest in Kenya, Nigeria is also doing it. Now, IMF, the same IMF that told Kenya to introduce taxes. What led to this protest in Kenya? The finance bill. Nigeria has been doing its own finance law to increase taxes. The other day, the CBN SARS, Monetary Policy Committee of the CBN, MPC of the CBN, they sat. What did they resolve? To increase interest charges.
It has been done in other states.
So when you keep doing that, and you want to tell me that you are investment friendly, how do you want foreign investors to come? Today we are seeing foreign investors leave Nigeria in droves. Apart from that, even our own local investor, Dangote, has shared his plan of building a steel company that will be giving this country 5,000 tons of steel daily. He has shared that. He has actually shared that plan.
But today he's lamenting, asking them to come and
buy us. After the federal government said they bought 20%, he now came out to say it was 7.2% that they actually bought. They couldn't even subscribe. They couldn't even pay up for the 20. Now today the news is come and acquire the venture. Come and take up. In fact, come and take over the entire investment if you don't want me to play. And they said based on BPM, parts per million, that the product is impure. The man is saying, no, you are still using the old standard to judge me when I came. Because, see, if you float a refinery, if you trigger a refinery, the first discharge will not be pure. But they were using it to judge this man. So the man is now saying, I'm okay, I'm good to go. It is now 30 per million. So I think we need to go back.
All right, before we go, because of our time, what happens to Ibeto Cement?
I heard that they are talking about bringing that one back to life. People say a lot of things about Dangote being a monopolist, but I don't want to believe.
Because it was working with the federal government.
Yes, that was what I say. That there used to be a campaign financer. You know, in America it happens. The other day, President Biden was accusing, I think, either Jeff Bezos or who of funding Trump's campaign. These bourgeois, these capitalists, they want to stay in business and they want to operate in a favorable climate because a government or a governing class will also need to do what to pass the vote to them. So they need to support one government. And they hear a lot of things about Dangote not being supporting for Tinubu's campaign and they're preferring not to, but that's that way. Okay, I don't want to go with that, but then I think what we need to do is allow every venture, every business to venture, right, yeah. Whether Ibeto or anybody, allow them to play in. Imagine where Dangote has steel and the Innocent is able to procure from him. You know, that is what they are talking about today in Innocent. Whether it was a semi knockdown or so. So if you have this working, you need to talk about comparative advantage it will give Nigeria in Africa, and then improve the ease of doing business, grow our GDP, create more job opportunities, and then help us address inequality, poverty, hardship.
All right, before we go, I want to in a few seconds summarize, remember what we talked about, the amount, about in 4 years, 884 million naira, almost $1 billion naira minus other things, and yes. Then as we speak, in a month it's about 30 million just for salary alone. I'm not talking about other allowances. And then compare it with these a minimum wage of 70,000. Just look at the few seconds.
It's unjust. There is no rationale behind trying to just oppose to say this is it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. You should be treating lawmakers as higher level civil servants. And there is no civil servant I know anyway that ends up to 1 or to 2 million naira, even at the federal level. There is none I know, except it has been reviewed. But what I want to say is it is simple. We have to be human. We have to think human. We have to think proper and begin to govern people. Government should prioritize common things: food, infrastructure, and the people are asking for. It's not much. So I think there is no rationale that's why they need inequality, and that is why people spend much to be in that seat. Because if they succeed, the notion, the ideology that they have earned a lifetime reward. Tell me who goes there and earns over 1 billion, because some of the times the things we call lobbying may be money.
It is now.
It may be money. Some of things we call lobbying may be money. There is hardly a minister that would want to pass its budget or defend its budget before the committee of the House without lobbying. There is also hardly an agency that would appear without lobbying. There are also other parastatals and offices that will appear. So I think we need to do more.
All right, wonderful listeners. Thank you for being part of today's program again. We appreciate you being there. And today we're coming to the end of this. And remember, it has been Comrade Nnamdi Elekwachi, our analyst in the house. Comrade, thank you for being part of today's program.
Thank you for having me. It's always my pleasure.
And it is always important, wherever you find yourself, make sure, remember, prosperity is important. What are you doing for tomorrow? Remember, you are not in, yesterday is gone, it's a history. Today is yours, and tomorrow is unknown. And that is why it is important for we to leave a wonderful, positive things on the ground as we live. Remember, a good name is better than silver and gold. And it's not all about how much you amass. A lot of people are dying of hunger on a daily basis. If you go around the market, you hear people slumping, even students committing suicide for one reason or the other. Because of, I wouldn't say bad government, because of hunger and starvation, people cannot even afford the school fees of their children. Yet we are here in Nigeria. It is important. Our governors should do something. Our leaders everywhere, right from the top to the left. Thank God for the local government. Very soon the local government is going to stand autonomous. And once that happens, that means dividends of democracy gets to the grassroots. Thank you, and this is your command, Chinedum Godson Adil. Until we come your way again, bye for now.